Hi. Hi, everybody, whoever's tuned in. My name is Desree. I am a spoken word artist, poet, facilitator, playwright, all of the things that you have to do, especially in these times to, in some way, be able to live. I'm based in London, but I always say like I'm based between London and Slough because I grew up in Slough. And I'm going to read some poems for you today. I've been invited, which is great. And also the lineup is crazy. So I feel very honored to be in the company of such beautiful, amazing poets. And I can't wait to see the rest of the show, to be honest. For some reason, I'm weirdly nervous, even though I am in my own study. Like I feel like it was the countdown into it like got me very, very nervous. And also like talking into a void. So I always try to start with a joke, and I hope that's okay. So to lighten the mood, a girl walks into a bar and says, "Ouch." Yeah. I'll try again. A woman walks into a poetry night and she screams, "See, safe places are only safe when the monsters show their face," and it's funny how the same men protesting hashtag all men are trash and are pulling their friends out of black bin bags, and it's funny how sexism can still prevail even when liberals dwell. It's funny how often we confuse the word enlightenment with entitlement, how conscience is only a result of consequence, how even in these progressive circles a woman is still just a man's accomplishment. And I am tired. I do not want to hear another "I am sorry, I got caught" apology. Because if you break something, you cannot fix it with "I'm sorry." So fuck your apologies and fuck your excuses and fuck boys will be boys and fuck not being surprised that they do this. These men make our movies. They run our poetry nights. They tell us jokes. They host children's TV. They have the nuclear code. So no, I do not want to hear another person tell me not all men. Because if every woman has at least one Me Too story, yet we outnumber them, that doesn't make sense. So instead of saying not all men, why don't you just try not to be one of them? And don't liken this to a witch hunt, because a witch hunt has no substance. We have receipts, we have tweets, we have confessions on TV. No wonder why not even the arts wanted to hear women speak. They were afraid. Because look at how resilient we are, even through all of this pain. And it happens again and again and again. And I am tired. And yes, I am talking to all men because we need all men to stand beside us because time's up. Because yes, that has happened to me too. So maybe a woman can just walk into a bar and get the respect that she ought to. Thank you. This is so weird. You'd think I'd get used to it by now, but it's actually like really quite, I don't know what the right word is. But yeah, so I'm just going to read some poems and probably cut down this talking thing because I'm rambling. The next poem I'm going to read is after a poet called Olivia Gatewood. She's an American poet. And she has a poem called "An Alternate Universe in Which I'm Unfazed by the Men Who No Longer Love Me." And I changed it around because queer lives matter. And it's an alternate universe in which I am unfazed by the people who no longer love me. She tells me she only dates women of color. I do not get mad. Instead, I torch all the clothes in her wardrobe, apart from the black ones, and slightly unscrew all of the light bulbs. When he tells me there is no future for us, I learn how to time travel. Travel back to a hot day in August in the late 80s and hand his father a condom. The day he told me I would never meet his mum, I purposefully bumped into her. I bump into her every day for a year. Every day until my name fell out of her mouth at his dinner table. Once, we stood in a room and she tells me my poetry is uninteresting and doesn't contain enough metaphors. So I quite literally put my fingers up my throat, grab the pain from behind my eyes and hold it in my hand. I wait until she says something and shove it in her mouth and watch her choke on my hurt. At 10 years old, my first boyfriend asked me to keep our relationship a secret. I cut out his tongue. I have a lot of blood on my hands in this universe, but no tears. No 3 a.m. texts of all the things I should have said. In this universe, I wear my heart like a clutch bag, close, but still dangling. I suppose unfazed is the wrong word. But in this universe, I am not unhappy. I do not have to be understanding. I just get to be. There are no angry Black women in this universe, or queer women with chips on their shoulders. There are only chips, which everyone eats. Because in this universe, your waist does not dictate how much love you deserve. We dwell on nothing. There are no excuses. It either is or it isn't. It existed or it didn't. There is no wondering here. We give ourselves enough love to remain unfazed. Well, not unfazed, but at the very least, happy. Thank you. Thank you. Just talking into like nothing. Well, I suppose as poets, we should kind of be used to the silence. But I think that's all going to change when the world opens back up. I can imagine everyone is going to want to be everywhere. I know I am. The next piece I'm going to do, I wrote a while ago. It's called Are You Okay? Yeah. And it's also about a lot of, no, I'm just going to read it. It doesn't matter. It's called Are You Okay? I have only ever had conversations with your ego. Occasionally, you let me talk to your self-esteem, but keep him locked up on account of just how fragile he can be. You are part man, part every word that has ever broken you. Part hostile, housing dreams that flew but couldn't afford to. You are your father's absence. You hold the heat of the anger of every time you were told boys don't cry, and now you're infertile. Dry. See, nothing ever grows without water to give it life. You speak to be heard, not to listen. You are a walking contradiction, claim to be woke but slept on your own vision, no spirit. Yet you worship true religions. What you fail to realize is your truth is missing, but I suppose if you think all your strength lies in your fists, you'd do anything to cut them off. When a rope holds more weight than your words do, or a bullet is the closest to feeling whole you have come across, I am sorry for failing to realize this world is trying to break you too. So they put you on a pedestal, then kicked it from under you. When 76% of all suicides are men, what does man up really mean? When kill or be killed has become so deep-rooted in your identity that you will turn on yourself. When fight and flight take place at the same time, it seems almost impossible to ask for help. Say man up. But perception is vital. See, manning up often looks like man down, so no one knows that man is suicidal. So I will ask you, and your ego, at every given opportunity, if you're okay. Because who knows how many lives those 3 words can save. Thank you. This is so weird. Sorry, I will get used to it being weird. So I've been performing this next one a lot recently on account of 2020 being very strange in terms of not just like obviously COVID, but the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a movement, it's not a moment, and still needs support because Black lives do still matter. So it's not over because we've stopped marching. We still need to be there and supporting the community as well as, and that's not even just in terms of marches, that's like where you spend your money. Like, I think personally, I specifically very much in the last year or so have been very looking for Black organizations, Black businesses to spend their money. So yeah, even if you do 1 or 2 things, we can make a difference. That's what it is. Changes the little things. Sorry about that TED Talk. This one's called Your Privilege. Your privilege answers questions nobody asked it. It shows up to parties empty-handed, but it's always the first to pour a drink. Your privilege chews with its mouth open. Your privilege talks loudly in libraries. Your privilege opens the window on a train when they aren't sitting next to it. Your privilege waits until the cashier tells them the amounts before looking for their wallet. Your privilege itemizes the bill at a restaurant. It says things like, well, I only got a water. It drives at 60 miles an hour in the middle lane. Your privilege tells everyone they're a vegan. It quotes facts from Cowspiracy at the dinner table. It asks questions like, well, what was she wearing? Your privilege shares videos about Cecile the Lion but does not know who Rashawn Charles is. Your privilege wears socks and sandals. Your privilege called him a drug dealer before they called him someone's son. Your privilege mimes to songs on Snapchat and then sends them directly to people. Your privilege does not like to be referred to by its name. It says it does not see color. It says you people. It cannot tell the difference between a riot and a protest, between a black boy and a criminal, between a police officer and a system built to oppress. Your privilege does not wash its rice. Your privilege makes jokes about killing trans people. Your privilege will cry to win an argument. Your privilege feels misunderstood. Your privilege feels like it can define what racism is, define what sexism is, define what is homophobia and what's not. But I suppose, seeing as your privilege created these concepts, your privilege comments on Pornhub videos. It says, I do not mean to interrupt while interrupting. It asks, are you going to let me speak when I haven't finished my sentence? Your privilege uses religious doctrine to justify its hatred. Your privilege does not wash its hands when it leaves the bathroom. It returns to the table to finish its meal. Maybe that's why your privilege is so full of shit. Your privilege does not believe in itself. It does not think it exists. It thinks of itself as more of a construct than constructed, as more of a warrior than a warmonger. It thinks of itself as the cure rather than the cause. Your privilege coughs without covering its mouth. I think your privilege needs to be addressed. Thank you. I think we've had a lot of privilege show its face, especially throughout COVID, in terms of specific, like a lot about classism as well. I think I've noticed. I don't know if anybody else has. Let me know if you have. Anyone? What am I going to do next? I'm going to do a poem I've got called Home. I wrote this, so as I said at the beginning, like I'm from a town called Slough. It's near Windsor, if you know where Windsor is, and everyone knows where Windsor is because the Queen lives there. Not in Buckingham Palace, FYI. Yeah, and it's a small town, and I wrote this poem about it, which isn't particularly complimentary, but you get the point. It actually goes very neatly into this classism thing now. So anyway, we'll go. I'm from a town everyone claims to hate, but no one ever leaves. Where you can have big dreams, but not always the means to achieve, where they knock down libraries to build unaffordable homes, yet the only letters these kids know are Z's and O's, where we light trees rather than grow them. Where it's cheaper to feed your family at McDonald's rather than the greengrocers. See, the council spends so much money on these new road systems, but only navigate their use from their schools to their prisons. It's almost religious. How they can start a multi-million-pound scheme and call it regeneration. When more than 8,000 of their children are living in poverty, I call that gentrification. And what's dangerous? These constant reminders of no hope. So you can own an iPhone, but you'll never own your own home. But you can hop on a bus and see how the Queen lives. Trust fund? Trust alone is in deficit. See, if money don't come quick, it doesn't come. A generation of absent dads and lost sons, Instagram girls and shit mums. What's the benefit in benefits if nobody's benefiting? When your scales are in the living room rather than in the kitchen, so you want to move no weight, you're moving weight. Are these the benefits of living in broken Britain? I don't see it. How we could so easily fail our youth with alternative facts and non-truths and no representation in the evening news. See, they call us shit and we fulfill that prophecy. Because between getting pregnant and getting a job, only one will secure you a property. So you can flip food in McDonald's or flip food in these streets. Either way, this system is not designed for everyone to eat. And that's not because you're weak. It's because you do not have the means. See, eating in my high school, we're not afforded the same luxuries, but we were 1.9 miles away. But them guys are on like 9.1 times my pay grade. If you invest in the youth, you make what they make. Change the connect to the tax man. We all make money the same way. So to regenerate something means to grow from damage and loss, but at what cost? Are we prepared to write a whole generation off? Thank you. I just realized that this might be quite intense. So I've got a funny one. I wrote this ages ago. So I've got a pamphlet coming out with Burning Eye in May. If you want to get it when it's out, you can find it on my website, which is iamdesree.co.uk. So that's iamdesree.co.uk. It's called I Find My Strength in Simple Things. It's like a revamp of a collection of a pamphlet that I self-published, but this one is way better. So even if you have the other one, you should buy this one because it's way better. I've learned how to use line breaks, the whole thing, like it's crazy. But yeah, it's coming out with Burning Eye in May, and this is going to be in there. It's called Hungover. So I wake up, always fully clothed, vodka dancing merrily in my system, drowning out all last night's bad decisions, but I feel good. In fact, I feel great. I mean, it's only 8:15, but my head's in the right place. Little did I know I haven't had enough sleep. Soon my body will start feeling weak and rejecting me, but for now, I'm fine. Staring at last night's glass of wine, I didn't have time to drink before the taxi came. Unsaved number pops up in my phone and I can't remember their name. In fact, what name did I say? Do you know what? I'll leave that a while. Hop out of bed with a smile, seizing the day. Last night's tequila paving the way. I must not have been that drunk last night. Let me check my bag, phone, purse, keys, no receipts. Can't remember what I spent or what I had, but I know I'm not an empty glass kind of girl. Because maybe then I'll start to see my own reflection. And when you're turning up, no one wants to be second guessing. But fuck it, I look fly. Well, Snapchat doesn't seem to agree. But I'd like to point out, Snapchat is not an accurate representation of me. Okay, well, maybe on the weekend. Maybe with a few drinks in my system. Maybe when I've let go of some of my inhibitions. But I've never woken up in a stranger's bed. But I've woken up with a stranger's head, regretting a few things I may or may not have said. But it's very easy to be misunderstood when Bacardi tastes so good. They say a drunk body speaks a sober mind. But never in my sober life have I ever wanted to ring anyone at 5:30. Oh, shit. I sent that drunken text. I'm a drunken mess. I don't even want my ex. And now the room's starting to spin. I think this hangover is kicking in. This is why they say never mix your drinks. But I've never been one to make a decision. Do I want vodka? Do I want brandy? Right now, all I want is some clear vision. My head is kicking. It's like I lost myself in the bottom of the glass. Use vodka to find the funnest part of me. But when I turn up, I always forget about gravity. Wake up and a few people are mad at me. Still learning vodka won't numb what saddens me. And I always say, I'm never doing it again. But what I mean is until next weekend. One phone call and well, here we go again. Do you know what that like I think Liv has a similar experience, but like I feel like that has made me miss being on the outside a lot. Quite a lot actually. I'm gonna do one more. And it is going to be called Crown. No, I'm not doing Crown. Sorry, that was I teased you then. I'm going to do a poem called Affording Justice. Again, I wrote this poem in 2016, I believe it was, when Alton Sterling and Philando Castile were killed within days of each other in America. And what's really sad about this poem is that it kind of like resurged last year with everything that was happening with George Floyd. And it's also, I talk about not wanting to write a poem like this again, and then I had to, and it's very stressful, but I'm going to do this one. And it is also in the pamphlet that will be out in May. So if you want to hold it, it's there. It's called Affording Justice. I do not want to have to write this poem for you. I do not want to watch you bleeding out in the street or in your car. I do not want to see them pin you to the ground. I do not want them to use only the top half of a family photograph so they can make you out to be some sort of demon because it fits in better with their story. I do not want to have to light a fire under this city so everybody knows what it feels like to burn. I do not want to hear "I can't breathe" be your very last words. I do not want them to put a hashtag in front of your name or a riot to be your legacy. I do not want us to birth any more parentless children whose skin make them the enemy. I do not want to have the need to justify my existence with a catchy phrase. I do not want to have to explain Black Lives Matter doesn't mean other lives don't again. I do not want to watch another mother cry for their baby on TV. And I do not want to hear another white man tell me how I should feel about my history. They are trying to break us. We can watch our children die on YouTube or more conveniently on our timelines. They recreated our jungles out of concrete, but our deaths aren't worth the airtime. See, some may call it police brutality or systematic racism. I have a hard time calling it anything other than genocide. We were brought here in chains and they're confused because we still wear them. We were whipped and now we buy whips, live in cribs because our growth scares them. But this revolution will be televised, so it can't be whitewashed or swept over, and you can BET that we will no longer be bought by slave owners. If George Zimmerman can be found not guilty, then sell his gun to the highest bidder. Look how far we've come means that they've only stopped publicly calling us. It took Doreen Lawrence 20 years to get justice for her son. And Sarah Reid was found dead in her police cell, but look how far we've come. If Malcolm and Martin were around today, would their words still survive? See, we don't just have trigger fingers, we have Twitter fingers out here penetrating lies, perpetuating lies. We have become assistants in our own demise, and I am not trying to write this poem again. I do not want us to have to bury any more of our women and men. I will not be seen as a victim. But I refuse to be a victim of this system. You cannot cage a person, degrade them, and then still demand their respect and patience. This movement was a product of frustration and, well, age-old racism. We are not looking for special treatment. We just want to be a part of a system that isn't corrupted. In lands where our ancestors built the wealth, when will we be able to afford justice? Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. You can find me on my website, www.iamdesree.co.uk, or on Instagram and Twitter at Desi_, so DEZZIIE_. So yeah, thank you for having me. Have a great evening. The 2 next poets are amazing, so I can't wait to watch them.
Hello! Oh my god, this is so spooky. Hi everyone, welcome to my bedroom. How romantic, how intimate. Good to have you here. I'm just drinking a fake brew dog because it's been a long day. And I'm excited to read some poems. That was amazing from Desree. And we've got 1990sChris, my brother, up next. And Oscar's thrown it all together. So this is a pleasure. I'm going to start with a slam poem if I can remember it. I don't really do things off the top anymore, which is perhaps a sign I'm getting old and lazy. But I'm going to do this poem. It's called Pride. Father figure, as in the place of your father. The space fathers left in double beds after leaving to become martyrs. Fathers who left their record collections under stairs, unaware that we would remain there for years after, but they don't think about it, do they? They don't think about causing pain or getting up in your face. And my dad used to say, listen, Liv, you need to learn not to be so loud. So now I've decided not to miss him when he isn't around, because being loud's quite a big part of this career path that I have found, so he can be impressed, yes, but he doesn't get to be proud. When was the last time you called your mother up? and said she kept you grounded, or found some strength in the fact that deadbeat dad would now be so astounded at how you learned to draw your own lines, because mine, he's going to be so shocked to find me. Prodigal daughter, me, when I'm 6 foot tall on his television screen with my lover, my sisters, and a Turner Prize and a Grammy, and a 15-minute thank you speech to a self-selected family, like we outgrew you, starting to feel like we never knew you. You gave me chips on my shoulder, but I carved them into sculptures. And we burnt down the dinner table you demanded we all sit at, and instead screamed and clapped until our lungs collapsed. We had beasts on our backs and they were so hard to kill, and through the laughter comes the tears, and then these stories start to spill, and aren't they always just the same? Fucked up Christmases or forgotten birthdays, disappointment and the weight of bearing someone else's shame when we are living in the shadows of men who weren't shit anyway. So this one is for my mum. For my mum, who's never read any Freud but could school you on some daddy issues, who hears my voice start to waver and says I stand proudly with you, who says I deserve love letters and I'll fit any glass shoe. Well, this one's for you. For my friends. For my friends who stood on the edges of cliffs with me. For the ones that waited patiently in doctors' surgeries. Allow us please to redefine our family. Tell me who you turn to, because I'll burn down the house of the man that hurt you. We turn our backs on those who say we should be grateful we were made strong, because we were built out of iron scaffold before any of that lot came along. We had to be structures, churches. We were houses that were hurting, and then we cleaned our wounds in darkened rooms and said, don't watch me while I'm learning. See, my dad told me to be strong. He said survival of the fittest. He's proper working class British. But he built families on foundations he knew any minute would later be missing. Well, this is my path, and this is my house. These are my bricks on my ground. So he can be impressed, but he doesn't get to be proud. Thank you. It's really funny saying thank you to no one other than the group chat. Me, Desree, and Chris in a little group chat. Cheers, guys. Yeah, so I'm Liv. I used to do rhyming poems, but now I just do non-rhyming ones. I've got a little book out. Little is the right word. And I'm going to read some poems from them. And hopefully it will take 20 minutes. There's not much content in here, but we'll see. None of them have titles, because whenever I title something, it ends up sounding like a Fall Out Boy album. So I went with just numbers this time, just to lower the word count. This one is number 4 from the book. A woman lays in a coffin and is lowered into the ground. Her name is erased from the papers, and 1,000 women wear only black for a year. A man is shot down by police collecting his children from school. We tie flowers to the entrance gates and we tell all the students to stick together. We are expecting violence in the area. We are expecting violence in the home. I am in the very, very long queue where you wait to be laughed at by people who are one paycheck away from being just as poor as you. And through gritted teeth, I ask them, please, sir, can I have some more? And I am aware the whole fucking facade reminds me that one day I will die at the hands of the state. I collect my stamped form and everyone nods in agreement. Yes, you are still sick. Yes, you are still worthless in the eyes of the law. The shame you feel is valid. You deserve nothing. They have spelt my name wrong. Somewhere far away, but also very close. Walking distance, probably. A group of suits gather around a table to decide my fate. But at home, on the table, my final message reads, one day we will all hang banners from our houses. One day the streets will be ours, and you will stand in the window of the building that belongs to us, that belongs to everyone, and I will think, my friend, my home, my love. I wrote that actually inspired by one of my friends who's in an amazing band called Piglet and an amazing band called Great Dad, and they had some really amazing banners in their window during the first lockdown. And just South London had banners up and people had all this amazing solidarity, and I was very moved. So I did what all ex-Goldsmith students do, and I wrote a poem about it. What should I do next? Okay, this one is number 10. So, I'm here, I'm 27 years old, and I'm asking someone to write me a love letter because I can't die without one, and one doesn't seem to be coming without me asking. I'm asking just for like another song or a playlist. Maybe I learned from my mother the art of convincing people to stay, or asking them not to leave, at least by saying, well, what have you got to lose? Knowing that the answer is me and I should stop tempting fate, really. Just think about it. Just think about me sitting in your t-shirt and nothing else, reading you new poems while we both drink and smoke. You know, if that isn't what you want, then why did you read all of that American literature? If that isn't what you want, then why did you get a record player? Why did you buy a camera if you don't even believe in love? It takes me half an hour to work out what to text you, because really, I did say it all yesterday. And now we're both just ignoring the elephant in the room, me. Huge, noisy, consuming, just spraying water and knocking over beer, making a mess and dampening the mood. Thanks. Oh, we'll do this one. This is poem 14. This is my favourite one from the book. This book is called Don't Let It Go to Your Head. This is the amazing cover done by my friend Sam, who I actually used to date when I was 13. Good to call in all the favours, isn't it? I would tell you it's on sale on Etsy, but I actually just took it down. So you just have to imagine that you own a copy and imagine you think it's really good. This is poem 14. This poem is just walking it off. It had one too many last night, let its mouth run absolutely wild, told him like we could give it another go, once more for luck, you know, just putting it out there, because that's so often what my love is. Just another chance at an unfinished piece of work no one bothered to spend any time on. This poem got pretty big for its boots, actually, and started making quite outrageous claims in the public house, ordering shots for the table, but two for itself on the sly. Off we go again. This poem is just walking it off, burning red with embarrassment, drinking tins on the bus home. This poem turns off its notifications to ease the stress. You see, aeroplane mode for like half an hour at least. This poem is just, well, this poem is like quite stressed, actually, and thinking quite seriously about burning off its fingerprints or moving house or taking a train in the complete other direction and never looking back. This poem has walked to and from the Londis 6 times, smoked 15 fags, and considered completely shaving its head. This poem was walking it off, but now it is just walking to yours, left foot, right foot heavy, no shame, no steady, 2 more tins for the way. Thanks. How long have I got? Oh, loads of time. Fantastic. This next one is called 18 because I don't have names. Love that. I wrote this, all these poems I actually wrote on iPhone Notes, which is where all the great poets write their poems, often after they've had too many beers. I wrote mine because I was working 6 days a week, frontline during the first lockdown, and I was just writing miserable poems in my phone while people didn't sit next to me on the bus. And this is a particularly lockdowny one, I think. 18. Being rich would be fucking fantastic. I would make delicious stock out of the bones of the homeless, devouring the vulnerable and feasting on their young. You sell your pretty face and you make a pretty advert. How indulgent I would be if I knew everything could be mine, sinking diamond-encrusted teeth into people queuing for the food bank. Not a lot of meat here, but I'm not eating to be full. Do the pretty advert, cash the pretty check. I will stand salivating in the queue at job seekers, tearing at the flesh of anyone who is yet to find employment. I pick the gristle from my teeth with eviction notices before heading home to masturbate to the news. You paint a pretty picture and it hangs in prisons across the UK. Would you like to come to mine for champagne? I have just secured this great deal. It's a bulk order of all my self-portraits to be hung in prison cells from here to Edinburgh, and we really must celebrate. A toast to visibility, to everyone who pulled up their bootstraps to suck their dad's dicks, to the ones who worked their way up building step ladders out of their neighbours' spines. Take a pretty picture. Take a pretty picture, cash a pretty check. Cheers. You can tell I was fuming when I wrote that, can't you? It's very funny. I'm stumbling over my words now that there's no one here to laugh with me. I'm imagining you're all laughing at home, though. That's what I'm telling myself. This next one I'm going to do is called 20. This one actually has a name. This poem is called A Series of Breakup Texts. And if you were like, you know, thinking about breaking up with someone at the moment, which I completely support, respect, and back, then maybe you could write some of these down, these breakup texts. They're just to be like workshopped. You know, you can borrow them and put your own twists on them. A series of breakup texts. You are playing devil's advocate. You are playing an acoustic guitar at my birthday party. You are casual misogyny at the bar. You are taking up 2 seats on a very busy London tube. You are, can I see some ID, please? And you are, I have left my ID at home. You are 2% battery on an unknown bus route. You are a pop-up shop on Deptford High Street. And you are a £6 can of Red Stripe. You are insufficient funds. You are probably a Tory. Your dad is definitely a Tory. You are an immigration officer. You are a bailiff. You are border patrol. You are calling the cops on your neighbour's house party. And you are getting them to turn the music down when it's not even 1 a.m. You are a vice journalist. You are a £20 application fee. You are a 30-page job application for the Weatherspoons, and you are a rejection letter from the Weatherspoons. You are bedroom tax, you are all lives matter, you are not all men, and you are single. So I hope that helps you in your endeavours to break up with someone annoying. Feel free to, you know, directly quote me. How long have I got? Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm going to do this one. Am I? Yeah, it's in the list. This is number 24. Some of the pages are black because I'm a goth. That's nice, isn't it? This is number 24, another sad one from the bus times. Everything is passing me by, and I feel as though I'm spending 10 hours a day on the bus, just looking out the window and moving in slow motion. In one hand, a suicide note, and in the other, a contract that says, yeah, I agree to live forever. And yes, I agree that you can make money off of me. I agree to pay you 60% of fucking everything that I earn just so I can live somewhere with a 24-hour bus service. Or somewhere where the neighbours don't whisper to each other every time I leave the fucking house. There she goes. Doesn't she look like trouble? Writing on my lunch break and writing between calling my mum to see if she's alive and calling my friends to say, yeah, don't worry, I'm still alive. Structuring my time down to the minute. At 9:37 a.m. I get off the bus early so I can walk some of the way to work. Am I fucked up, or have I just completely forgotten what skin feels like? Someone else's. Anyway, it's like my body has been preparing for something that it just can't name. But let's not take any risks here. Let's take a sledgehammer to my phone and every penny from my account withdrawn in cash, because I cannot do this anymore. I've been on a waiting list since November. So what is that now? Like, yeah, what, 7 months? Yeah, I've been on a waiting list since then, and I've been in this queue forever. I am just queuing around the block, shopping lists on a post-it note, keep that in my pocket, got my receipt from my Oyster in there too, and a letter that says, if I walk out in front of this bus, please know that this was the only thing left for me to do, and please burn my body and throw the ashes in the face of whichever Tory is in power at the time. Please mix me with ink and paint me on a placard that says, you have let me down, and may you continue to live with that on your conscience. Thanks. I'm going to do 2 more because mine are short. I'm going to do the dedication, and I'm going to do the last poem. The dedication, I actually wanted to have, this book is for no one, fuck all of you, but my best friend said that that would not sell books. So instead, I have a little extract from a play I wrote that came out, God, ages ago now. There's a new one on the way, but this is from the old one. And this is the dedication. It says, this one is for the people who were shouting long before anyone passed them the microphone. For the people who turned up uninvited with their faces painted, balaclavas hanging out their back pockets, Molotov cocktails sparked from unpaid invoices, racking up lines with their union cards. This one's for the people screaming, fighting, occupying, striking, resigning, loving, fucking, and definitely not bothered by an oncoming apocalypse or 2. Dystopia, utopia, who the fuck cares? Your landlord's a scumbag, your boss is asleep, Tories. Your dad is a Tory, and your ex has told everyone that you're an attention seeker when all I ever did was set fire to his car. The end is coming, and all that's going to survive is the squatters, the queers, the dykes, the anarchists, and the cockroaches. Art's dead, babe, and you're just left with me. I'm going to do this last one. This is another toast. When I was writing this, I was going through, well, I guess when I started writing this, I was going through a very horrible, spooky, aggressive breakup. And I actually thought that the person I was going through that with would be a heavier presence in this book. When I tried to write about him, I realised the most interesting thing he'd ever done was me. So he's not in the book other than for this little poem, and I'm going to do it as a toast. I've got Jameson's. It's been a long day. This one says, when this little pretty book comes out, someone will probably mention it to you, and you'll say, am I in there? Did they write anything about me? Well, this is your moment. Stay the fuck out of New Cross. Cheers. Thanks so much. I've been Liv Wynter. And yeah, stick around to watch 1990sChris. And thank you so much, Desree. And thanks everyone for watching. My housemates are cheering downstairs. Love you guys. Bye.
All right, how's it going? I'm 1990sChris. Nice to meet you all, even though I can't see any of you. Weren't they both amazing? So good. I'm a bit speechless about all that. But I'm going to read you some more poems. This one is about a pub toilet. There are speckles in the grey. No skirting boards or nothing. It just creeps up the wall 6 inches before meeting the black rubber strip. The speckles and the inverted islands of piss catch the flickering light. It's all a bit charming, with the background noise of Cotton Eye Joe muffled through the classic 2-door airlock. When you're in here, you notice the way the 2 doors create space between this stench and the one out there. You can feel the human chemical compound combine, the natural and synthetic. It blends inside your nostrils as it wafts up from the trough. It's not like you can't breathe. It's more that you can't get away. And they're always there, aren't they? Good night, is it, mate? I don't understand why they do it. I don't know if it used to be acceptable, but they do it every time. Same blokes that are like Graham Norton on principle and can't listen to Wham without telling you a cautionary tale about George Michael. Good night, says it again, breath wheezing out of him like I didn't hear him the first time. Fucking dead-eyes me in the bar, but at the urinal, he wants a natter. I can't talk to my dad in the car on my own, but here I am in my good loafers, straddling puddles of piss, admiring the speckled floor and ignoring a lonely stranger, our 2 dicks bobbing about, limp and gushing. He just wanted to chat. I just wanted to piss. I tell him, yeah, it was all right before all this. Cheers, thank you very much. So yeah. It's lovely to be here. Thanks for having me. I can't tell how many of you are here, so I'm just going to imagine it's the most people I've ever performed to, and that you can't hear me now because of the rapturous applause that I can't speak over. So, but no, honestly, I feel proper honoured to be here, and I feel proper honoured to be on the same bill as Desree and Liv. They were both so good. So I've really enjoyed myself, and yeah, I hope you're enjoying yourselves. And I just opened with a poem about pissing with an old bloke. It's embarrassing, isn't it? I'm going to now read you a poem about playing pool with an old bloke, and I hope you like it. I walked to the bar with a $5 in the palm of my hand. I was nervous. The woman's face was familiar, though that didn't comfort me much. I knew she would understand. Do you want some change for the pool table, sweetheart? I was really grateful she didn't make me ask. The note looked comically massive between my fingers. For me, it was more of an ordeal than a task. I'm not sure what I was actually afraid of, but that doesn't mean that I conquered the fear. It was going to be almost as nerve-wracking every single time. Somehow I knew it, and the men behind the bar reminded me with their leers. The reward of another game of pool with my dad was worth the risk. He gave me the $5 with the deal that if I got the change, then I get another half hour of this. It felt normal to barter for time of his. Not out of choice, but out of circumstance. Dad's work and mum's are there. Long hours at a measure, and he hadn't many to spare. I liked playing pool with him. He talked about it like he knew what he was talking about. He taught me to run the chalk over the gap between my index finger and thumb. He told me how he used to play in a league. He was posturing a little. I could see the pride behind his teeth. He was trying to impress me maybe, or he defaulted to something more deep, something more innate. And it was one of those times where I felt like I was his mate, a strange equal with proof, both our first names in chalk on the slate. We were just blokes playing pool in the pub. And when he placed that $5 in my hand, it felt an awful lot like love. Cheers. I'm going to have a drink. I hope some of the rest of you were pub children so you can relate to that. So how's it all going for everybody? Not very good, largely, I imagine, which is fine. There's no pressure for it to be good. It's all a bit bleak in it. But I hope you're doing all right. And that this evening has sort of distracted you for a little bit. Although we have quite resolutely reminded you of how terrible the world is thus far, which is fine. That's what we're here for, isn't it? But I thought something Desree said that reminded me of something that I was thinking about a lot was that that weird sort of middle class contempt for working class people. That it's always there, always, constantly, and you're aware of it if you're working class. But it just was very pronounced in the first lockdown, particularly, especially when people were like, oh, my cleaner isn't coming to my house to clean up my stuff, even though I'm here the whole time. And my mum's a cleaner, so, and she had to like work through that and stuff. And like, it was just a bit shit and that. So I decided to write lots of poems about working class people and their jobs. And I made it into a little zine. And one of the things I wrote in there was about a factory worker. And it kind of got me thinking this time that, you know, like we think about all these jobs and stuff, like think about unskilled work. It's just a ridiculous concept. It's just like, those are the jobs that make the world turn around. And I think we had to kind of face up to that a little bit last time. But this time, this lockdown, factory workers are still working. They're working through this. My dad works in a factory. I used to work in a factory. So I wanted to, there's one in the zine about it that I wrote. Yeah, if you'd like this one, then maybe give that a go. But yeah, I wanted to read you a different one actually that's inspired by a lad I used to work with at this factory. And it's called Subaru. I'm stood there thinking, how the fuck can he do this forever? I've just asked him what he wants to do with his life. And he said this, and buy a car, a Subaru, Impreza. A Subaru is a lot of paychecks, especially when you're 17 and on less than everyone else doing the same job as you, with a touch less enthusiasm and unnecessary amounts of experience. I can only just make it through to break time. And he's thinking about this for a lifetime. They are good to me here, Chris. Yeah, I'm glad that he feels like that, but I'm not sure I agree with it. The next time we're on the line together, I ask him if he's bought the Subaru yet. He doesn't laugh like I expect. Here you have to follow the trail of crumbs to someone's identity, in between their work bag and work bait. You don't ask them what they did on the weekend now, you just see what they do on their lunch break, piecing them together to pass the time, putting metal hook onto metal bracket, hanging it on the line. He just tells me, not yet. That he's struggling with the theory test. He's never been good with words, but when he's passed, it'll be proper good. I ask him what he means. He says, I can just do what I want then, like drive to the shop and that. Girls like lads with cars, don't they? He actually waits for an answer. I don't really have one, so I just say, yeah, mate, it's true. He wants the kind of wheels that will change his life. I cross my grubby fingers behind my back, hoping that they do, thinking, how the fuck can he do this forever? Cheers. Liv has just asked me in the chat whether this Subaru man is single. I have an update on the Subaru, man. In all of this terribleness, I have a bit of good news. Not for you, Liv, unfortunately. He's not single, but I went to the factory a few months ago and I saw him, and I worked with him a long time ago, so he's still there. And I was like, how's it going? And he was like, yeah. And I noticed this flashy as fuck car outside, and it was a Ford Focus RS, proper nice. And I was like, is that yours? And he was like, yeah, it's mine. So yeah, he got a fucking sick car, and it's way less to insure than a Subaru. So, you know, that's pretty good. A result. Also, another good bit of news, it's my birthday this week, so happy birthday to me. It's also a bit rubbish because I can't go to the pub, and I really want to go to the pub quite badly, but I can read you a poem about the pub, so I'm going to do that instead in lieu of going, which is really sad, isn't it? I've kind of had enough of the comments. I'm just going to slip it in, see what they make of it. Amber Rose is hot, yeah, but do you know who's really fit? Tom Hardy. I hold my breath for the reaction, regret my momentary bravery, sip my cider in the silence as they try to work out what to make of me. There are tense shapes of men. Polo shirts stiffen with shoulders that withdraw, friendly faces curl into smirks. It's not the same anymore. Some take big gulps of lager, needing a little too long to think. Some gasp for air after half finishing their drinks. Others fidget, flicking beer mats with work-stained fingertips. Someone has put the heat lamp back on, warming the cold, golden sips, waiting for someone to call it what it really is. Ha! You're a funny one. You're making yourself sound gay. I suppose he's in good shape, yeah, but what would your missus say? I laugh. She'd probably agree. The tense shapes of men return to slouches, grins, and chuckles. I loosen the grip on my pint. Pale-faced, white-knuckled. Cheers. Thanks. So I wrote that as part of a thing for BBC Sounds. It's called Erasure Island. It's a little project around, an audio project around bisexual erasure, and you can find it on there if you want to listen to all of it. I'm going to read you another piece from it now, about a kebab shop. It's called Kebab Shop. When I left my flat, the harness, the fur coat, and my mate's matte lipstick seemed like the perfect idea. But I'm in a queue, wrestling with loose change in a deep pocket of fear. I'm in a kebab shop under strip lights, and I feel very queer. I speak to the same man I always do. Trying to avoid his eye, I focus on the questionable collage of fruit and veg to the left of the menu. All right, mate. I resist the urge to tell him it's fancy dress or wink and say it's only for the missus and she loves it. I come clean with, how's it going? He reaches over the counter and shakes my hand as he always does. I look at him gratefully. He looks at me knowing. The fear passes me by for a moment. He gives me a tightly wrapped cylinder full of fat with a wide smile, says it's busy, sorry. The chips are going to be a little while. I say it's fine, thanks. I hear the unmistakable tones of one-upmanship, the slurred drawl of tenuous pint-inspired friendship, and I sink a little as it swells behind me. I hear a deep voice, coloured by rollies and too much shouting. Excuse me, mate, what's that? I turn. He is wearing an enthusiastically branded t-shirt, a curb chain and a cap. And he holds himself like he's trying to scare a bear. He's got an aubergine between his legs. I look around at the girl relying on her boyfriend for balance, at the uni types discussing how many hot wings they could eat for a challenge, at the guy taking phone orders with a finger in his ear, at the rave baby on the phone saying, waiting for chips, can you get Amelia to come here? At that guy who just ordered a plain burger and is still drinking a can. I'm in search and hope that I'm not the person that he is looking for, but I am. Aware of the lipstick stain on my halloumi wrapping in between my beard and soul patch, I take his question to be a threat. The cheap buckle on my harness is tested as I puff at my chest. I force it to grow in the only way I know how to occupy this space. I use my man voice from football, from when I meet people's dads and brothers, and insert some certainty. You what, mate? What's that you got? What? The wrap. It looks well good. Oh, it's just halloumi. With all the salad? Yeah, all the salad. Nice one, mate. Have a good night. I get my chips. Wipe the grease from my forehead and step out into the streetlight. Cheers. I miss being really pissed up in a kebab shop in the middle of the night. I'm really sad that I can't see all of you. It's freaking me out a bit. I bet you all look lovely as well. I've got a couple left for you. So if you feel like it, I would love if you could take a picture of you watching this, of the screen of yourselves watching it, and tag me in it or something. That'd be amazing. We probably should tag Independent Venue Week as well. But if you can do that, that would be amazing. I just want to see someone enjoying themselves. And have you got 2 more poems to kind of, you know, get the good angles and all that shit? So yeah, I just want to see you having a good time. I'm going to do a serious one now though. So, you know, remember those good angles. Don't forget them. I know it's easy to forget that wearing your heart on your sleeve is a freedom that some people don't get. Everyone's fine with it now, aren't they? And if they aren't, then they aren't allowed to say, apart from they do. In every pub, in every school, and in most workplaces every day. The second time I kissed a boy, someone kicked me in the face. The third time I kissed a boy wasn't in a public place. I didn't want to take the risk. I didn't want to make them sick. I didn't want to remind the world that we exist. Who would choose this? Being queer is a battle you have to repeatedly fight twice. First against yourself and then against everyone else for the rest of your life. Holding hands. Mate, that's a heart-in-mouth moment, but it's also a statement of intent. That love will rear its beautiful head with or without your consent, because love is a spectrum. And gender is a spectrum, and wherever people fall on that, you should respect them because you fall on it too. And where we fall, we don't choose. And I think you might feel differently if the different one was you. Cheers. Thanks so much. This has been lovely. Thank you so much to Oscar and everyone at Independent Venue Week. I really want to see some of you guys. And thank you to Come Play With Me as well for putting this on. And thanks to Desree and Liv for being amazing and incredible. I'm honestly still pretty weirded out that I'm on the same bill as you guys. And I hope it happens again soon in real life because it's been really good. I think this has been a good combination. I'm going to shut up in a minute. But if you liked anything that I said, please let me know. If you hated anything I said, please let me know that too. I'm interested in both conversations. So yeah, if you fancy a zine or following, Liv just said they hated it. If you fancy a zine or following anything I'm up to, then follow me on Instagram at 1990sChris. Or on Twitter as well. And I'm going to leave you this one. It's about hope in weird times because I just wanted to leave you with something nice, I think, and hopeful. It's called Moth. My phone vibrates. I ignore it as I chase a moth around my bathroom. We always leave the lights on now. They think it's an open invitation, but it's actually because we never leave. I feel sad this could be the highlight of my day. I think of filming it so it could be the highlight of someone else's day. I daydream about whether that would make me feel more or less connected. I stop thinking like that because it makes me feel fucking horrible. Now I can't see the moth. I only hear its fluttering against porcelain, its constant collision with things, even though it has so much room. I sit on the toilet fully dressed. I put my head in my hands, rub my eyes that have not seen daylight for days, only screens, and I allow them to scan the room. I see the moth hover. It lands like a bumbling child discovering its own balance on the sink beneath the window. I think of squishing it in toilet paper. I could do it so easily, but I decide that would make me feel much worse. It flies out the window, and I know one day I will too. The notification is about something good. Cheers, thank you very much. I hope you all have wonderful lives. I can't do a dramatic exit from this, so just have a nice life, yeah? See you later.